July is the perfect time to sow biennials. It gives them a chance to go ahead and establish themselves, so you can plant them out here at the end of autumn, and then you'll have flowers next spring. So that way you kind of save a year. Otherwise, you're having to sow them in the spring. That first year, they're just going to be green. Then the second year, they're going to flower. But sowing them here at the end of summer, you kind of skip that step, and you already have flowers next spring. And that's what we're doing today.
That's true. So we have one of these Digitalis here that's finished flowering, had a long big stem here. And notice they are green on the top here. That means they are not quite ready yet after the flowering, but all the way below here they are brown and starting to open. That means they are ready to be collected. And notice I have gloves on because they are actually poisonous, the Digitalis here. So what I do, you can use your hands too, but I'll just use a scissor here to collect them. And as you can see, I have a little filter here, and then you can see there you already have from one little seed pod here, I have like 100 new Digitalis. So what we do with this one, you could either, if you just want to have them all over randomly in the garden, because they do get tall, so you can, we have a few out here in the front, but they are so elegant here. But you could, the first method, you could also just collect them now and spring them around in the garden, and then you will have new Digitalis next year. But with this one, it's also, we like to have a little control over the process and where we have them, because sometimes you don't know if it's a seed or a weed or it's this new baby Digitalis. So we collect them and then we will sow them in trays up here in a minute.
And if you just let it self-sow, which it will do really, really well, you won't get flowers until the second year. But that's another thing. The reason why we're doing them now is we can already have flowering, the actual flowers, not just green stems, but actual flowers next year. Yeah. So let's get started. Sweet Williams, these are another really great one. Super easy to collect, super easy to sow, and July is the best time to do it.
That's true. And this one was a really, almost, it has really black foliage and almost black flowers, like dark, really dark flowers. And as you can see, the seed pods are all brown, dry, and they start to open up here. So I can actually just drizzle them out here in my hand. There we go. And then we will also collect them and start sowing them up in trays as well.
Perfect. And we're just putting them, if you're new to our channel, we use a lot of coffee filters. That's all this is. So even if you wanted to collect them now and not sow them in July, if you wanted to wait till the spring because you just want foliage that first year, you can do that. The coffee filters, just what we use to keep them dry.
So another one I like to sow now here in July is the Aquilegia. It is like in some areas it's perennials, a short-lived perennial or a biennial. So what I do, I take just a hand here and then I just pinch them off, and you can hear them really being ready. They are all brown here and they rattle. And
hold it up to your microphone. I think they can hear it.
Can they hear it?
Maybe.
That's
if not,
weird.
it's a great scene.
Okay, that
Thanks,
was
Lars.
awkward. And then, but here you can really see, compared to the other seeds, they are really much larger, blacker, so they're easier to handle. And we will also sow these.
So yesterday we finished collecting the seeds, and this morning we're going to sow them.
And I just added water to my, you can use potting soil, and normally it's quite dry when you get it, so I just added water and really mixed it in. And you can, we use the cheapest one. We actually use soil that, it comes in a big sack. It's for tomatoes. It's some of the cheapest one. It's very nutritious, but really, it's really good for when you sow. I don't go ahead and use seed sowing soil because, first of all, I think it's really expensive. And if the plants would self-sow out in the garden, it's also in nutritious soil. So this works for me, or for us. And what I did to really see that it's perfect to sow in, I kind of boil it up like this. And if it keeps the structure, then it's really fine.
Exactly. So that's after we've added a little bit of water to get it at the right consistency.
Yeah, because normally it's pretty dry. You can also just add water, but this way you have a big, huge amount already to use. So what I do, I have my tray here that's reused, really washed nicely, and always remember to add drainage holes here so extra water can come out, so you don't overflow your new seedlings here. So what I do, I take a few handfuls, maybe 2, depending on how big my hand is, maybe 2, and depending on how big your tray is, of course. But just
and these are just
there.
old meat trays that we've just washed and then recycled. This is what we use for winter sowing, for any of our, all of the seeds that this man collects and sows.
Yeah, but they have a really good shape and keep the form. And notice I don't push down, I let it be airy, the soil here, I don't push it down. And some of the seeds we collected yesterday, for example, the Sweet Williams here, that we have here, the dark leafed one and really dark red flower, they will be sown here. I'll add them now, and then I'll add some soil on top. But some seeds needs to have light to germinate, so you do need to remember that. So here now, because it's really nice and actually wet here, I don't add water. Otherwise, if you feel it's still a little bit dry, you can have a little spray here that you can add a little bit of water on top here. And then I just take my seeds, these ones, remember, with my really dark hand here now from the soil, but these are really dark here. So these are I don't put one and one, I just really drizzle them roughly over everywhere here, because later on then you can repot them and add them out in the garden. So, and these ones don't mind to be close together. And then I just take a little bit of soil on top here, just so they are covered a little bit here. So you don't cover them too much with too much of soil here. There we go. So this is the Sweet Williams ready to go. And then I have my, always really good, because it's hard to remember what kind it is. So I add a little name tag, just like that. Then I'll pop them in the greenhouse out of direct sunlight and keep it watered so the surface doesn't dry out. And when they have the second set of leaves, you can repot them and then place them directly out in the garden, and then they will really grow and be established for next year and flower then. So these ones are ready to go in. And then we take the next one here, and this one is a different one. That's the Digitalis, the pink one we took. And these need light to germinate. So these just go on top of the soil. So again, I'll take a handful or 2, around 2, yeah, and these smaller ones. Just again, a little bit more. I won't push the soil down. And then I take my seeds here.
And the reason if we're not pushing the soil down is because later when you water it, if it's too compact, the water will just sit on top and then drown the seeds. So that's actually why it's not a great idea to pack your soil in and push it down. You don't want it too compacted.
Yeah. And here's just the leftover seed pods here. And these ones are they're gonna fly if I'm not careful in this.
It is a windy morning.
So here they are, you can see they are really small. So these are just sprinkle on top of the soil here. Really gently like that, whoops. And then you can,
whoa, it's windy.
Whoa, it's windy here. Then you can add a little bit of water here.
And the water will help them stay down.
Yeah.
So instead of pressing them down, and again, don't cover these with soil because they need that light to germinate.
I need these ones over here, there we go. And then I just add my tag here, Digitalis, that's the pink one. And then I'll add it in the greenhouse again and keep it watered, because these ones are on the surface, so they were more likely to dry out. So do keep an eye on those. And if you don't have a greenhouse, you can have them near a window sill or even in a pot outside, just covered so that the birds don't pick in the pots. So there's different places you can add them. And these ones, actually, when you repot them, they have a second set of leaves, because a Digitalis gets really big leaves. It's really good idea to repot them one by one. So that will take a bit of a time with these ones to repot them, but they will have the green foliage this year, and then next year we'll have the 2-meter tall stems of flowers, and you can either have them in groups or just around in the garden as well. So they will be really pretty.
It's hard to imagine that this greenhouse is empty, but it's just getting started. If you're new to our channel, goodness gracious, this greenhouse will be full of things very, very soon. Here's the first 2 going in.
And some other ones I'm going to do is forget-me-nots, stedmoder we call them, and hollyhocks, natviol. What else do I have here? Verbascum congolus and wallflower, gyldenlak, and some Aquilegia as well. So all these are gonna be sowed in here and then later on repotted and then out in the garden before winter comes, because then they can have a great time to establish the roots, get all green and strong over winter, and then they were ready to flower next year.
Speaking of putting things out in the garden, we already sowed some Digitalis when? Beginning of June, was it?
Yes, beginning of June.
Exactly. So June or July, as soon as you have those seeds ready to collect, you can go ahead and sow those. But what I wanted to show you was what they look like when they are already big enough to put out into the garden and where we've placed them. Shall we do that now?
Let's do it.
Okay, we're taking you behind the scenes. What lives right next to our fence? These newly sown, hold on, let me get over there.
And they have grown really big, actually, after when they first came out. These were sown and then, beginning really early June, sowed in the trays and then repotted a little bit in the greenhouse. And then before holiday, I placed them out here. And look at them, how they are doing. They are creating all the, and this is in a big group. I might need to move some a bit in a different area. But these are going to be, you wouldn't believe it, but they'll be 2 meter tall next summer. So.
And they're already flowers, so that's another reason. I know I keep repeating myself, it's that teacher in me. But getting them started now, we'll go ahead and get this stage of their life over, so that way they'll flower next year.
That's true. And if you then keep doing this every year, then you'll every year have a steady flow of just beautiful, these 2-year plant here, that they have this first year with foliage and then the second year with a flower.
Exactly. Why don't we sneak out, or I'll gently follow you. I won't make you guys follow me back through our awful path. Actually, let me show you the path. It's not that bad. This is the path to get around the garden. A lot of people have asked, how do we get back here to the back? That's how. We leave a small gap until Lars plants stuff. So. Okay, we've got a lot of these to get back to, a lot of seeds to sow, got a whole greenhouse to fill. Let us know in the comments if any of these biennials or short-lived perennials are in your garden and when you prefer to sow them. But until then, thanks so much for watching.
Moin, tak for i dag.